Hello and welcome to Doubles and Trebles. It's been a little while since we've had some darts content for you. I've been relegated to the spare room, but Pieman is still here with all the darting details you may need. And yes, you have read it right. Phil Taylor is back. Now that is something that we didn't expect to see when we launched this channel about 6 months ago. But here we are. And in fact, it's not just Phil Taylor. There's a whole host of legendary names coming back to a TV screen near you after a recent announcement of a new World Seniors Championships. It's going to be launching in 2022. There's various details have been coming out recently, and it seems to have really caught on, Pieman, and expanding as the weeks go. Tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, this one's captured the imagination of plenty of people, including myself, to be honest. It's been an idea that's kind of been touted around for a while. I remember Paul Nicholson did a Sporting Life column last year suggesting that there could be some kind of seniors tour, and it looks like we're finally going to get it. Still not a lot of rock solid information at this stage, but let's concentrate on what we do know, I suppose. The people behind this Modus Sports, a name that will be familiar to a lot of darts fans. They're an agency. They look after a lot of players, including MVG, Peter Wright, Gerwyn Price, so well established in the game. And they also run a host of exhibition nights in a non-COVID world anyway. You know, if you were going to any kind of night at the darts or, an evening with Wayne Mardle or the likes, it's probably Modus behind it. So I think we've got the right people in charge for this. They know how to market it and promote it. And it's going to be very interesting to watch it all kind of pan out. Obviously, the big announcement, and I guess the star name that they had to get on board was Phil the Power Taylor, and they managed it. I mean, it didn't obviously take much coaxing to get Phil out of retirement. I mean, he maybe took a look at what Barney's been doing and maybe got the bug again and thought he wanted to dust off the old darts. So, Phil's going to be back, but there's some cracking names in here. I mean, the initial announcement was going to be for a 16-player Seniors World Championship. And they were saying that 14 of these players were going to be invited and there was going to be 2 qualifying spots up for grabs. Now, that's since expanded to a 24-man field. And there's 14 of them that we do know, the 14 invitees. And they include Phil, but also the likes of John Part. Martin Adams is going to have a go. Ted Hankey's back. Delighted with that one. John Lowe, Bob Anderson, Dennis Priestley. We've got Richie Burnett in there. Andy Fordham. It's a cracking list, to be honest. Everyone you could think of that they could have got in, they've seemed to have got in. But yeah, as I said, there's going to be a couple of qualifiers as well on top of that. And they've since gone on to say that they're going to have 8 invitees as well. So a lot of names that people would have hoped to have seen that haven't yet been announced, but may still well be.
And then 2 qualifiers, Pieman. So is this are Modus going to run their own qualifiers for this, or is it connected to the PDC rankings? And does it exclude professionals that are over 50?
Yeah, so from every indication at the moment, all professionals over the age of 50 won't be eligible to play in this. So you kind
There's
of
a few. There's a few.
Oh, there is. I mean, Gary Anderson, for one, would get in there, and I would think he would fancy his chances of winning this, to be honest. But look, I mean, Peter Wright would also get in there as well. So there's a few big names in the professional ranks that could rock into this. But think of it as in golf and in snooker, they are very successful seniors tours. It's a little bit of a fun for the fans, but also gives the competitive edge to these people who've still got something to give to the game. It will be a bit of a test, I suppose. We don't really know what to expect. We haven't seen some of these players for a long time. Equally, I watched Richie Burnett play in an online league recently, and he's as good as he ever was. So some of these players are going to be, fancying their chances, and maybe they have more chance of achieving something in the seniors tour than they did in their actual careers. So very interesting concept. But the 2 qualifiers, just to answer your question on that one, no firm information, but it seems like they're going to be an open Riley-style qualifier, similar to what we have for the UK Open, with a minimum of 2 spots up for grabs, although I wouldn't be surprised if that expands further should the interest increase as the months go on.
I tell you what will be interesting, Pieman, 2 things. If and where it ends up on TV, because we've obviously, I don't think that's been announced yet. And also the betting in the early doors of this event could be carnage in terms of, being priced up on reputation. Have they still got it? Some of these are old fellas now. Some of these are badly out of shape now. I'm not going to mention no names, but if they weren't in good shape when they're professionals, you can rest assured they certainly ain't in good shape 5, 6 to 10 years later and returning on this non-professional basis. So yeah, they're going to be really interesting. And you wait till the likes of Ozzie Smith sees this, and it's going to be right down his alley. Some of these names you mentioned, and Ted Hankey, I know, is one of your all-time favourites. Some iconic names in there, truly iconic. It'd be interesting, like I say, to see what they've got left and what they haven't. Of those mentioned, Pieman, 2 questions really. Who do you expect to go well from those ones mentioned, and also who else would you like to see be seen to take part, either qualifying or getting an invite, because they might expand it. If they're looking at 24, you might as well go to 32, Pieman, if the interest is there. So, what are you thinking along them lines?
Well, I agree with what you say about going to the 32. I do think that is the next step, because I think the more momentum that these things gather, the more people put their hand up and say, you know what, I want a bit of this. And I think Modus have said there's going to be at least 25 grand put up for the winner. So it's not just a knockabout. If you're retired and you've still got it, then it's worth winning. And Phil Taylor said something along the lines of, rest assured, I'll be back, and I won't just be back, I'll be winning it. So, I'm not going to doubt Phil Taylor. I imagine he's already back in training for this event. So it's going to be interesting. The early favourite for me would probably be Martin Adams, just because the way I see it with Martin Adams, he left the BDO to play in the Grand Slam of Darts very late in his career. There was a real sense that he could have gone much earlier and achieved an awful lot in the PDC. I still think he's got something to prove there. And Martin Adams, again, like I said with Richie Burnett, he's still playing in these online leagues. He still looks sharp as ever. He's really, really kept himself in good nick, off the board and on the board. I think he's going to have a real chance. And like you say, these markets, God, they could be an absolute nightmare to price. I don't envy the first person that's got to put these tissue prices up, and I'll be watching with great intrigue. But you can't rule out Phil, can you? And as you suggested, I'll be cheering in the Mervyn King line of thought. I'll be cheering Ted Hankey. I love Ted. Absolute shithouse of the highest degree. I love Ted Hankey. I'm delighted he's signed up for it. In terms of invites, there's some obvious names in there. One maybe not so obvious that I would love to see, Terry Jenkins.
Yeah.
But possibly the best man not to win a major. So unlucky in a number of televised events in the early 2000s. Bully, very popular with the crowds, and I know that everyone will get right behind Terry. Not sure if he's still in good playing nick, but I'm hoping they can coax him back in.
Well, World Championship 9 daughter, Pieman.
Yeah, exactly. Jenkins. Oh, Terry was no mug. He could have, in another era, he could have won 3 or 4. He's a really quality player. I'd love to see him in there. I can't help but feel they're going to get some Dutch interest in there. Core Stompy seems like an obvious one. Roland Scholten as well, I think we could well see in there, so some classic sort of throwback Dutch names. I'm sure there's plenty more that I've missed as well. In terms of the English players, I think Kevin Painter's got to have a real shout. Only retired this year, and he would be a runner as well because, recently retired. We saw it in the golf with Phil Mickelson. He recently went on to the seniors tour. He's just destroying the field every week pretty much. So, we could see something along those lines. Ronnie Baxter, Colin Lloyd, I would like to see in there. A couple of Carlisle legends, Peter Manley, Alan Warrener, would love to see them in there. But look, the last man I will mention, and I think they've got to be getting him on the phone, Paul Lim. You've got to get it. It ticks so many boxes. That Asian market, it would open up interest over there. He's already an icon with the British public. And I guess it just depends whether he still fancies having to go to the World Championships, because that might rule him out of this. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but I think Limby will be getting an invite. Even though he is approaching 70, I wouldn't rule him out of a few shocks.
Well, it's got plenty of interest at this stage, Pieman, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye on it and be talking about it more in the coming months. Like I say, looking to be launching, if you like, or taking place or starting in February 2022. But yeah, plenty more announcements to come. And possibly we might get 1 or 2 of them on for a chat, following in the footsteps of Danny Baggish and Damon Heta, fingers crossed. But yeah, any questions or thoughts that you may have on the newly announced and developing seniors championships, let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoy our videos, hope you do, please give us a like and subscribe. That really does help us massively. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back with more darts content very soon. Thank you.
Cheers all.